at the rear, but they have very different setups. Let's start with the OnePlus 5T. OnePlus tossed away the ill-fated telephoto camera on the 5 and went in favor of a 16 plus 20 megapixel setup, both with f1.7 lenses. The idea is the 16 megapixel 1x2.8 sensor with 1.12 micron pixel size will shoot photos in good light, and the similarly sized 20 megapixel 1 micron pixel size sensor will take over under low lighting conditions. The View 10 also has 16 plus 20 megapixel combination but with f1.8 lenses, and they come in an RGB plus monochrome fashion. This too, like the 5T, is meant to provide better low light performance since the color information is collected from the RGB sensor while the contrast and details are collected from the monochrome sensor. However, it also claims to provide better dynamic range and sharpness. All three phones lack OIS. The Note 5 Pro is perhaps the least impressive on paper. 12 megapixel f2.2 sensor with 1.25 micron pixel size and is assisted by a 5 megapixel f2 depth sensor with 1.12 micron pixel size. It may have lost the battle in terms of specs, but let's see how it does in terms of performance. Regardless of what OnePlus did claim with the 5T, we did see how the Honor View 10 was a better phone at still photography than the former. That continues to show here too in this photo, where the 5T not just created the smallest file size, but also perhaps the mushiest photos, and pixel peeping reveals a watercolor effect on the foliage. The Honor View 10 is sharper, but perhaps too sharp. 5 Pro is noticeably sharper than the 5T, but not as sharp as the View 10. However, it nails the colors and white balance and produces a better looking image when it comes to the colors. 5T has yellows all over the shadows and highlights and midtones, while View 10 manages to keep the highlights like it is. But both bleed yellow onto the leaves and makes it seem yellowish, which isn't a real thing. The 5 Pro gets it right here. Similar conclusions can be drawn from these photos, but the 5T manages to get the white balance right here. However, the photo is still mushy and may have too much contrast. The View 10 and 5 Pro get the contrast correct. This image exhibits the dynamic range. The View 10 and 5 Pro again showcase their skills in terms of dynamic range, but the 5 Pro image is quite flat. View 10 has the right amount of contrast while the OnePlus overdoes it. When it comes to portrait mode, the Honor View 10 is the lightest in terms of the blur strength, while the 5T is the strongest and the 5 Pro sits in the middle. In the case of the Groot figurine, the View 10 gets the sharpest image and edge detection, but has the least impressive bokeh as well as the yellowish tinge on the photo. The bokeh looks great and the colors are nice on the 5 Pro, but the edge detection went wrong and looks bad on Groot's hair. The 5T doesn't get the edge detection as perfect as the View 10, but it's much better than the 5 Pro, and also it gets the bokeh and colors correctly. This is an instance where the portrait mode did absolutely nothing on the View 10. It looks like a regular photo. The 5T photo looks very similar, as it too has a similar yellowish tinge and feels like the View 10 shot itself, but with portrait applied. Edge detection is good, and so is the sharpness on the desired object. The same applies to the Note 5 Pro, but I prefer the 5 Pro the best because of the colors, which gives it a point more. When you bring a human subject in front, the View 10 has the best sharpness but bad edge detection, while the 5T has great edge detection but a soft subject. The 5 Pro has pretty good edge detection and sharpness, but can't beat either at either aspect. The same findings are resonated in these images, and you can see here that dynamic range is better on the View 10 and 5T, while the highlights seem a bit overexposed on the 5 Pro. When it comes to low light performance, the worst performer is the OnePlus 5T. The images captured by it are noisy and doesn't have enough sharpness and has a tendency for image blur due to a long shutter. Ironically, it's the only one of the three to have a dedicated low light camera. The 5 Pro does the best in low light conditions such as this, where it is the only one to get good sharpness in the final output. Where it does have a yellowish color cast and the overall exposure is lower than the other two. Perhaps having a better exposed photo would have resulted in a slightly lesser sharp image on the 5 Pro. In near complete darkness, the View 10 is the best, capturing sharp images, albeit with high levels of noise, possibly owing to the over-sharpening. View 10 is also the best in some other situations such as these. The front-facing camera on the View 10 is a 13 megapixel f2 camera, while the Redmi Note 5 Pro has a 20 megapixel f2.2 lens and 1 micron pixel size. The 5T has a smaller 16 megapixels of resolution but larger f2 aperture. The View 10 front camera is the least impressive in terms of dynamic range. The other two phones even have HDR modes to improve it, but the View 10 doesn't get any. Sharpness and detailing is the best on the 5T, while it's similar on the 5 Pro and the View 10. When it comes to front portrait mode, however, the View 10 has the best edge detection and blurring algorithm, while the 5 Pro comes in at second. The 5T is last because, well, it doesn't have a portrait mode for the front camera. In terms of video, the OnePlus 5 and 5T have been long-standing champions thanks to their EIS. Up until now, Xiaomi has had very poor performing phones, especially under 20k price segment. The 5 Pro attempts to change that. The 5T produces the best video as it has good dynamic range, detail and great stabilization. The 5 Pro has all that but has low dynamic range, which results in a video that has amazingly smooth but a bit overexposed in terms of highlights. The View 10 has the worst rear camera video since it lacks any form of stabilization. It's also worth noting that the View 10 and 5T support 4K 30fps and 1080p 60fps, but the 5 Pro currently only supports 1080p 30fps, so we shot all of them at 1080p at 30fps and upscaled to 4K resolution for this video. Coming to a front-facing camera, the story remains more or less similar. The main change here is that while the 5 Pro shows an option for EIS on the front camera, it seems like it doesn't really work yet. So Xiaomi really needs to work on that, but is still more stable than the View 10 footage, but nowhere as good as the buttery smooth videos on the 5T. So this is the front-facing camera of the Honor View 10 capturing video. Let me know what you guys think about the quality, the sharpness, the dynamic range, as well as the overall stabilization, and how well it's even managing to pick up my voice. This is the front-facing camera of the Redmi Note 5 Pro. Let me know how the overall quality is, how the stabilization is, and how it's managing to pick up my voice, as well as the overall sharpness, the detailing and the dynamic range. So this is the front-facing camera on the OnePlus 5T capturing 1080p video. Let me know what you guys think about the overall sharpness, the stabilization, the contrast, as well as the dynamic range, and how well it's even managing to pick up my voice. It's not an easy conclusion to draw. The View 10 perhaps has the best still photography game, but a not so good portrait mode. The 5T and 5 Pro do much better there, and they also do better on the video front thanks to EIS. The View 10 is definite no for vloggers and any video enthusiasts, but the 5T will perhaps be a better choice overall, considering that Honor doesn't seem to be interested in providing any EIS update for its videos. However, the Note 5 Pro is a silent warrior here. It was never the worst in any category, or perhaps just one or two at most. For most of the tests, it sat either in the middle or came on top. While the 5T and View 10 might be a better choice for video and photo enthusiasts respectively if you have the money, the Note 5 Pro is surprisingly good and will meet, if not exceed, the expectations of many on a tight budget. Thanks for watching. See you again in the next one.